Hi everyone, this is Sagar Shah and I'm recording a video after quite some time. Well, as you would have, if you were following the Chess Base India website or the YouTube channel, you would have seen that I was at the camp of Vladimir Kramnik in France. And so it was very exciting, but there was no time to do the game analysis of interesting stuff. Also, the World Cup is coming up now in couple of days, so I will be covering that. But right now, what has forced me to make this video is Harikrishna's phenomenal play at the Polish Extra League. Harikrishna scored 5.5 out of 7. He scored 4 wins against 4 Grandmaster opponents, very strong players, and he gained a lot of rating, around nearly 10 ELO points. That takes him right up to 2755 and world number 16, which is simply phenomenal. You should be looking at his interview on our channel that was done by Keti Satshalashvili. She interviewed Harikrishna at the venue and we have put it up there. What I am going to do here is going to show you all 4 victories of Harikrishna. They are long games, so I will go over them quickly. But there are 5 points which I would like you to think about. So that's why it's called the Harikrishna's 5-point challenge over here. And we have to see if you can think like Hari in those positions. Okay, so let's begin with his first win against Bartłomiej Heberla. He's a Polish GM, and Hari was white. He opened the game with d4, and it was a queen's gambit with this a6 move that is recently gaining popularity. We are not going to take too much time in the opening, but we come to this position after knight bd7, where I want you to think, this is the first point of the entire video. What would you play here as white? Okay, so what were the moves that came into your mind? I'm sure that many of you thought of the move long castle. A few might have also thought of short castles. Well, if you short castle here, then you have to be careful of this sacrifice. I don't think it works here, perhaps because I can just move my king up and the bishop is protected, also the knight is attacked. But this is something you have to be careful about. What Harikrishna played here is really interesting, and this is what I would like you to remember. And if you got the right move, congratulations. He played the move h3, and now this might look like a very silly move, but there are 2 points to it. One is that it's a waiting move. You keep your king in the center. You don't know whether you will castle short or castle long. And at the same time, let's say if black also waits, for example, let's say he goes knight to f8, you can already start thinking of g4 followed by g5, using this pawn as a hook. So if you guys got the move h3, great work. Like Harikrishna, you also would have played it, because in the game when b5 was played, Hari just now short castled and he has another weakness to attack. So that's how the move h3 was very useful. Just take you through the game a bit. Rook a d1, a prophylactic move against the move c5, so that there is pressure down the d file. And then he got his rook back to c1 and d1, and finally here he went knight b1 because he wanted to play d2, b3 to c5. I was also thinking of the move e4, which was very strong in this position. So knight b1, g6, knight went to e6, knight d2, and white has a clear advantage here. But after the move c5, Hari spotted that he has this powerful blow, bishop into g6, after which fg6, queen g6. He has 3 pawns at the very least. Also this pawn is falling, and this c5 pawn cannot be taken because the rook on e8 would be hanging at the end. And so Harikrishna won this game against Heberla, and this was a very smooth win. The next game was against Pyrun, and Pyrun is a very good player actually. This is again, this time Harikrishna has the black pieces. Pyrun is well known for his compositions or problem solving skills, and is a very strong Polish player. and they played this opening after bishop d2. This is all very well known, and f6 came up, knight to b3, and rook e8 by Hari was a very strong move. You know, it's the first new move of the game, and you usually want to hope that white takes on f6. Like for example, let's say here he takes, and let's say you can take with the queen, then you have this rook beautifully placed. You can go bishop g4, there is pressure on d4 pawn, all of it. But white is not taking on f6, so you play rook e8 in this position. And now if he takes, true, the rook would have loved to be on the f file and the other rook would have loved to come on e8, but well, in order to force something, you need to make some concessions, and after ef6, queen f6, I think black should be very happy with what he has got. Bishop b5 was played in the game, not giving up the e5 pawn, and there is this pin as well. And here Harikrishna put more pressure on the position, bishop to g4, and after bishop c6, bc6, now white should have gone rook to c1, but instead he went queen d3, and after bishop f3, queen f3, rook e5. It's just simple pawn up position for Hari, and he converted it excellently. You know, he played really well. He got his queen here, the other rook came in, then he started pushing his d pawn, and he won without any trouble. So in this game there were no real questions, so right now only one question has been asked, but I wanted to show you how Harikrishna won. Now this is the game which has two questions for you, so 2 points here. And this is Harikrishna's victory over Alexander Mista, and here after c3 Hari was able to play the Marshal, which is supposed to have a very good reputation. Black seems to be equalizing without any difficulties. Bishop f5, and here as you will see that black recovered his pawn and also has a clear fine position. Take, rook e1, h6, some exchanges were made here, queen to e4, and the question is going to come to you very soon now. What do you play here as black? You know, do you take on c5 or do you not take it? That's the question. Okay, so this is for your second point. Okay, congratulations if you decided to take this knight, because as you saw in this position over here, black decided to keep his bishop on c7 because it let him keep his bishop pair. However, in this position where we had the question for you, Harikrishna took on c5 because now he sees that with the king on g2 he can start an attack in this opposite colored bishop endgame with the queen, and this is really very dangerous. Queen to b1, and you will see how within a couple of moves Harikrishna puts his opponent in nearly a zugzwang position, bishop to e2, and this is zugzwang, believe it or not, because this bishop attacks f3, this queen attacks f2. You can't move the bishop, you can't move the queen, you can't move the king, you can't move any of the pawns. So he had to play g4, and then after take, bishop takes, black was a pawn up and he should have won the game. There was one very interesting moment which came at this point, and here your question is, white went for the move queen to d4, should you take the queens or not? And this is very important question, so give yourself good amount of time here. What would you play here as white? Now Harikrishna played here queen b1 check, which turns out to be a mistake because then the position was near to a draw. Congratulations if you found queen into d4, but only if on the next move you played king h6 first, freeing this pawn to move ahead, and because now if you play bishop to e3, I have the move g5 and I'm going to play f4. I'll tell you why this is important. because yeah, the basic point is you cannot start with f4 here, because then I can go bishop to e5 and I'm attacking either this pawn as well as this pawn. So let's say if I play king to f5, you take this, and if I play f3, then king f2, and all the pawns are the pawns is blockaded on the light squares and you cannot make progress. So important to play king h6 threatening g5, and when after king to f2 is played, here you must play the very important move f4. If you found this move, congratulations, because if you play the move g5 here, then after king g3, black has two problems. Now one way, there is an extra pawn here, but it doesn't really matter because the bishop is sort of controlling. So the position is as good as white having no extra pawns for now. You can think of it this way. And in this position, if it was white to move, he can play the move bishop to e3, and this is a draw. Why? Because f4, which is the only move to put the pawns on dark squares, is met with bishop into f4. And somehow, if you want to play f4 and you get your king to e5, then the g5 pawn starts to hang. So you have this pressure on the g5 pawn, and you have brought the king here. So in that way, this is going to create a lot of problem for black to win, and it's a drawn position. So how to remember is, the move that black wants to make, you have to stop with your king and bishop, and at the same time the bishop should attack the pawn. So interchanging this setup, let's just say here I make couple of moves for white like this. Well, I'm just trying to show you the other setup. King g1, and yeah, when you come here, this is not the ideal setup, because yes, you are stopping this, but I can bring my king to g4 and play f4 later on. Okay, so because the bishop doesn't attack one of the pawns, it's not a good setup. This is what I wanted to explain in this position. And so after king g3, here if you play f4, you got this move in, but I have king to g4 threatening bishop f6, and here if you could have checked me, it would have been nice, but you cannot. So bishop c6, bishop e5 threatening bishop into f4, check, king f3, and it's a draw. There is no way. If the king came to f5, this was winning for black, but the king cannot come there, and there is no way to prevent bishop into f4. So you had to be, Harikrishna had to be very careful. He could take king h6 and to king f2 play f4, and now after this, black is just easily winning the game. So if you took queen into d4 followed by this idea of f4, you get 1 point. So that's 3 points for you. In the game it was drawish until the very end, but then Mista made a mistake with king b2, and Hari was able to exchange the queens, and now we see that same endgame with pawn already on f4, the pawn coming up and the white king really far off. So Hari was able to win this game quite easily. Now the last game is also Harikrishna's favorite from the tournament. It was against German GM Niklas Huschenbeth, and it went bishop to b5, a6, and as we saw, Harikrishna wanted to play once again the marshal, but Huschenbeth played a4, which is an anti-marshal. So after c3 you have d5, and this is the marshal. a4 was played, b4, a5, d6, and c3, rook b8, bishop c4, and here Harikrishna played a very interesting move, h6. Just a waiting move, improving the position, at some point stopping knight g5 or bishop g5 ideas, and white played h3, and here you have to calculate the move knight takes e4 and tell me if it is a good move. This is your 4th point, so give a good thought to it. Okay, if you thought knight e4, bishop d5 and you lose a piece, that is not the end of the variation. and if you are not playing that, then it's incorrect, because Harikrishna did play knight into e4. Firstly, rook into e4 is bad because of d5 and black is winning. Bishop d5 comes knight takes f2, 2 pawns, and after king f2, knight takes a5, third pawn. Congratulations if you saw this move. This is actually well known theory, not here, but without the inclusion of the moves h6 and h4. So here knight into e4, h6 and h3 does exist, and this position has been reached in the very famous game Maqsoodlu versus Sindarov from World Juniors. I was present there. I also interviewed Maqsoodlu after the game. He was well prepared. c6, bishop a2, he took rook takes b4 and played d4 here, if I am right. This is what Maqsoodlu played and won the game. Now h3, h6 inclusion I think favors black, because bishop h4 check can come in any time, and then this structure is not the best. c6, bishop a2, rook takes b4, and black has decent compensation. White should have played d4 here, which is in the spirit of the position, but he played d3, not the best move. And now let's look at Harikrishna, how he plays. First check, well, this should have been taken, and king g1, when after bishop into h3 there was a very powerful move for white, rook to e4, yes. And this one, let's say after take, bishop g4, it's a complicated position, but Nicholas played g3, and after bishop f6 you can see that d4 has been stopped, and now black is in control. King g2, rook e8, rook e4, rook went back, and now this rook is going to be harassed by the black pawns. So rook a4, and now your question is, what should black play? It's like a small plan. What would you make in this position? Well done if you found the plan of knight to b7 followed by d5 and knight d6. This is what will give you 1 point. This is the 5th question in the position, and if you found it, well done. So here knight b7, bishop e3, d5, knight d2, knight d6, and black is completely in control in this game. After knight b3, e4 was played, knight d4, and now how should black win? This is not a question for any points because you already got them, but just how should you finish off the game? And the right move is c5, good move. If knight c6, you have queen d7 takes, then h3 is hanging, and it's a mating attack. You open up the rook, and if knight into c5 as was played in the game, you have rook takes b2 and ed3 attacking the bishop, and after queen d3, knight c4, rook e1, queen d6 attacking c5 and g3. Powerful play by Harikrishna, knight e4, and you take rook into e4. The point was, I think rook into c4 was what Hushenbeth wanted to try, but after takes, queen takes e4, bishop b7, you lose the queen. So these were 4 games, 4 victories of Harikrishna, and there were 5 points that you could have scored. I hope you did well. Let me know in the comment section how you did on these positions. But more importantly, you could see how Harikrishna played in these games. He played 3 games with the black pieces and won them, and in all games he played e4, e5 with black. So all of you who think e4, e5 is a boring opening, think again. Harikrishna has shown that it's a fighting weapon. You can fight really hard with it, and he has managed to score 3 wins, take his rating to 2755, and is now world number 16. He's going to play at the World Cup starting in couple of days. He's facing a Cuban opponent who is 2550, and I hope that he wins the first round and then subsequently other rounds as well. Until then, this is Sagar Shah signing off.